Same man, same face, same jokes. In this room, a woman forgets his name before he reaches the parking lot. In this room, 10 years later, she doesn't look away all night. Nothing about him changed. Everything else did. This is Ethan. And by the end of this video, you'll never watch a room the same way again. We're going to follow him through 8 levels, from a man with nothing behind his name to a man worth $50 million, and track one single thing: how far into the future a room is willing to imagine him. This isn't a video that tells you money buys love. It's the opposite. It's a video about how to tell the real thing apart from the performance at every single price point. So let's rewind. 10 years before the second room. Back to the party where none of this had happened yet. This is Ethan at level 1. $0 behind his name. Maya is looking at Ethan while he talks, but she isn't really looking at him. Her eyes do a small thing he won't notice until years later. They slide half an inch past his shoulder, scan the room, find nothing, and come back. He's being funny. And in that half inch, he gets filed. Not rejected, filed. Sorted into the drawer of men whose names dissolve somewhere between the party and the parking lot. It doesn't feel like cruelty. That's the part nobody warns you about. There's no insult to replay, no moment to point to and fix. The problem isn't that Ethan said something wrong. The problem is that there's a number attached to him. And right now the number is 0. And 0 doesn't buy a future in anyone's imagination. Level 1. $0. The future Maya imagines with Ethan is 4 minutes long, the exact length of the conversation. There's no next week in her sentences, no we should. Ethan texts first, always. She answers the same day if he's lucky, 2 days later if he's not. Sometimes not at all. And then there's the rare one, the woman who stays anyway, who looks at the broke version of Ethan and sees the thing before the thing exists. She's real. She's rare. She's worth more than anything he will ever build, because she bet on him when betting on him returned nothing. That's not a verdict on his soul. It's a verdict on his signal. And the signal is the one thing on this list he can change. Level 2. $50,000 a year, around the median paycheck. A real job. A direct deposit landing on the same 2 Fridays every month. Nothing about Ethan is impressive yet, but something quieter has arrived. The first thing he's ever owned that Maya can actually feel. Stability. When he says he'll pick her up at 7, she believes 7. Not because he's special, because he won't vanish. The future she imagines stretches from 4 minutes to about a weekend. We should try that place, she says lightly, the kind of light that can be taken back if it has to be. She introduces him to one friend. At 0, he was kept separate. At 50,000, he gets walked to the edge of the circle. Here's the trap that swallows men whole at this level. He feels the shift and thinks he's arrived. He hasn't. He's become visible, and visible isn't the same as chosen. She's simply stopped crossing him off the list, and his nervous system reads that small mercy as love, because it's been starved of it. The men who survive this level know the difference between being considered and being wanted. The men who don't spend years mistaking a green light for a destination. Level 3. $150,000 invested. Now something reverses that has never reversed before. She texts first. Not every time, but the first time it happens, Ethan feels it in his chest, because for years the arrow only pointed one direction. Invested in something boring and broad, $150,000 throws off around $6,000 a year on its own. The practical effect on him is small. The social effect is not. He stops flinching at the check, and the absence of that flinch becomes the first thing about him she finds quietly attractive without being able to say why. His flaws get renamed. The silence that was boring at 0 is now called grounded. He didn't change a thing. The number behind him changed, and it rewrote the captions under everything he does. Then the standards arrive, and nobody announces them. The restaurant should be a certain kind of place now. The trip should happen with a certain frequency. She never says any of this out loud. And when it goes unmet, something cools by half a degree with no conversation about why. He feels the temperature drop and can't find the thermostat. That's not manipulation. That's a person recalibrating to the man his money now says he is. Level 4, $400,000. At 4%, that's $16,000 a year arriving on its own. And the quality of the women in Ethan's orbit changes. Not better, not worse, different. More self-made, more put together, with their own careers and their own standards, who simply weren't in the rooms he used to stand in. Now his rooms overlap with theirs. The future she narrates has stretched to a season. She talks about the fall as though it's already real. But 400,000 is the first number that looks like wealth from the outside. The car, the apartment, the way he carries an ordinary Tuesday. And that's exactly where the pretenders get loud. There's a woman at this level who is frictionless. She laughs harder at his jokes than his jokes have earned. She's never busy, never difficult, always free. And if he's not paying attention, he reads that smoothness as connection and builds expensive long-term decisions on a performance. The way to tell her apart isn't the expensive night. Anyone performs well at dinner. Watch the boring Tuesday instead. The canceled plan, the long drive, the evening where being with him offers her nothing to gain. The real one barely notices the cost. The other one goes quiet and is subtly less available by the weekend. The bill is not where you learn who someone is. The ordinary, unrewarded hour is. Level 5, $1 million, more than 5 times the entire net worth of the median American household. The night Ethan crosses it, he tells no one. But the flinch is gone now, fully and permanently gone. And she reads its absence before he says a word. He stops bracing at prices. He handles a problem without the low hum of fear underneath it. She clocks the missing fear the way some people clock a change in the light, instantly, without being told. The future she imagines is years now, and she says it in concrete terms. Not someday, next summer. A life with his name load-bearing inside it. She gets quietly territorial in a way that signals to other women that this one is accounted for. And new women appear who seem to know his number before the first conversation ends. They don't chase because chasing is clumsy, and they are not. They position. They show up where he is. Easy, patient, never pushy. The patience is the tell, because patience here is not a virtue. It's a strategy with a long time horizon. The men who lose mistake strategic patience for real interest. Level 6, $4 million at 4%. $160,000 a year arriving whether Ethan works or not. More than twice what a typical American household earns, paid for doing nothing anyone can see. And at this number, the performance stops. Not because the women got more honest, but because $4 million is large enough that performing looks desperate, and they know it. So they drop the act and switch to the only thing that still works at this altitude: realness. She's warm, genuinely curious, good company, no visible agenda, and underneath all of it, completely at peace with what $4 million means for her future. He can't catch her being fake, because she isn't. But the calculation is there beneath the warmth, like bedrock beneath soil. Everything she feels rests on stone he cannot reach. The only women here with no stone underneath are the ones who already built their own world, with no blank space where his name would go. Being with him costs them nothing and gains them nothing structural. Level 7, $15 million. Ethan is now well past the line where the top 1% of American households begins. And the rooms he stands in are no longer accidental. They're curated. Nobody is beside him by chance, because the events themselves are filtered. She knows who he is before she meets him. By the time they meet, she already has the rough shape of it, the holdings, the trajectory, the connections, gathered without ever once looking like she was gathering. She'll appear at 3 different things across 6 months, each one feeling like a pleasant coincidence. None of them were coincidences, but the signal that matters at 15 million is small and easy to miss. The ones running a long position ask about what he has. The rare real ones ask about who he became on the way to having it. The years before the number, the version of him that set 3 alarms and hated Mondays. One is interested in the balance. The other is interested in the man the balance was built by. The question she reaches for first tells him which one is sitting across the table. Level 8, $50 million. At 4%, that's $2 million a year, more than 25 times what the typical household earns. And nobody chases Ethan here. Chasing would be unsophisticated, and unsophisticated does not survive in this era. The whole thing runs on access and arrangement instead. The right person appears in his orbit through a network he didn't assemble and can't see. Everything feels organic. Almost nothing is. The future she imagines with him is no longer a year or a season. It's an estate, a name on documents, a life measured in decades and inheritances. And the most capable women at this level hold 3 things at once with no contradiction. The warmth is real, the interest is real, and the cold awareness of what 50 million means is also real. None of them cancels the others out. And here, finally, the arc resolves into one quiet fact. The relationships that survive 50 million, the ones that still mean something when you strip every external signal away, almost always existed before the number was this large. The woman who was there at 0, or at 150,000, or at the first uneasy million, and is somehow still here. She was there when being there returned nothing. Everyone else arrived because of what Ethan built. And for Ethan, that woman has a name, Sophie. She was in the room at that very first party, the one who didn't check her phone once, the one whose eyes never slid past his shoulder. He just didn't know how to see her yet, because he was too busy watching Maya's eyes slide away. So walk it backward. At 50 million, the room is arranged before he enters it. At 15 million, she researched him before she smiled. At 4 million, the calculation runs silent beneath genuine warmth. At 1 million, she positions instead of chasing. At 400,000, she logs the Tuesday, not just the dinner. At 150,000, his flaws get renamed in his favor. At 50,000, he becomes visible. And at 0, Maya gives him 4 polite minutes and forgets his name by the car. Nothing on that list was ever about him. He was the same man the whole way up. Same jokes, same silences, same face in the mirror. What changed was the length of the future a room was willing to imagine with him, and that length was never set by his character. It was set by the number standing behind his name. The number didn't teach women to want differently. It changed what wanting him would cost them and what it would buy. So go back to the party, to the half-inch where Maya's eyes slid past his shoulder. Picture the same room, years later, the number behind him now. She doesn't scan. She holds the look. And the only thing left to decide is whether Ethan can still tell the difference between the woman who would have stayed for the 4 minutes and the one who only arrived for the 50 million. Build the wealth. Build the eyes to read it at the same time. One without the other is how men lose a decade. If this is the kind of clarity you want more of, subscribe. This channel exists to show you the architecture of status most people only understand far too late. And you're early. Was it Maya at 0 or Sophie the whole way through? Tell me in the comments. See you in the next one.